You know, every day I wake up and I think to myself, surely when I open up my laptop, there's not going to be something even crazier than the day before in politics and specifically with Trump. And almost every day I'm proven wrong. Two parts of this story. First, let me contextualize it with reports about those who will stand behind Trump at his events, who are the most vocally supportive of him publicly, privately saying they don't like him. The not so secret about Trump and those support him is about half of them hate his guts privately. So that's first. And then I'm going to give you an example from today of why it might be that Republicans hope he doesn't win while they're trying to pretend like they do want him to win. And that comes in the form of this absolutely disastrous public appearance of his, probably one of the most we've seen. And I know that those words are becoming cheap. That's why I started this the way that I did. I promise, crazy stuff. More legal troubles, I think, were created by this appearance. But first, the Daily Beast report. It seems it's not just Democrats who are hoping that Donald Trump will be dealt a devastating defeat in November. Several notable Republican figures also want the former president to lose to Kamala Harris, but aren't saying so publicly, according to Politico. Some GOP lawmakers see the possibility of a new Trump term as bad news for the party, the outlet reports. And let's circle back on that. How for their own existence in politics, they want him to go away because he's taking the party down with them, but they'll say publicly. Again, some of the people, these are anonymous sources saying this, but some of the people we've learned about from other reporting who have these feelings about him, hate him, are standing right there with him at events and saying they think he's the best ever. And you also have Salon reporting, Politico's Playbook newsletter separately reported Wednesday that this take isn't shared just by out-and-out Trump haters in the GOP. Quote, some of the Republicans wishing for a Trump loss include long-standing GOP figures throughout the nation who bleed red and wouldn't dare say this publicly, but who are more than ready to move on from the Trump era. And apparently they don't speak out publicly because they're just so scared of a Truth Social post from Trump. Now, why? Why would you want so badly, even when you pretend to be a Trump supporter in the form of some of these prominent GOP officials, why would you want him to lose? Well, more time of stuff like this, in this particular case of the clips I have for you, it's him in New York City, appearing at the argument portion of the appeals case relating to his sexual abuse civil outcome. And he's trying to appeal that. And so he showed up here and held a press conference where he further defames E. Jean Carroll, insults his lawyers who are behind him, and randomly, proactively brings up examples of just how many people have accused him of sexual assault. What? Here's the first clip.
I never met the woman other than this picture, which could have been AI generated. I don't know. Showed up out of nowhere, but it's fine. Nice picture with her husband, and lots of other people are online. It's a celebrity line. But never met her, never touched her, never had anything to do with her. The other thing is I was very famous then. If I would have walked into Bergdorf Goodman, the department store that she said, everybody would have said, oh, there's Trump. And it would have been, at that time, on page 6. Page 6 was the equivalent of today's internet.
Oh, thank you for explaining that. His mouth's dry. He's having a hard time coherently explaining himself. And these arguments, they don't stand up to scrutiny as shown by him losing in a civil trial in front of a jury where he was able to make these arguments and he failed. So he's trying now in the court of public opinion, defaming her further. She could bring another case and get some more millions of dollars and she'd be justified in doing it. But he already lost in court. Now, this is the appeals process, so, he's able to try again. But I don't think it's going to be likely going his way. The majority of people who watch the show on a regular basis aren't actually subscribed to the channel. If you can make sure you are by clicking that subscribe button, easy, free, simple, but makes all the difference. I greatly appreciate it to help us get the word out. Back to the video. And then you have him bringing up other people other examples of him being accused of sexual assault and explaining these in the most discombobulated way you could possibly imagine.
Now, there were two witnesses. One is a woman who's followed me for years. She said in 1979 I was in an airplane with her, commercial flight, and we became very intimate. I just sat down. I think I had the book, The Art of the Deal. I was famous then, too. I've been famous for a long time. And we're sitting in first class, according to her.
As a side note, as he continues to tell this story, which, now, you could see the way his lawyers are reacting. This is not what this press conference was supposed to do. This is only making people go, if I didn't think he was guilty of this before, I think he is now. Because if your argument is I didn't sexually assault someone because I was famous, and notably famous people never sexually assault people.
Never happened, by the way. Totally made up story. She's a Clinton person, too, by the way. Big Clinton person. She made up the story. And so many years ago, and I think it would be 1979, one of my many people behind me could correct it, but I think she said 1979, that's a long time ago. And I sat down. I believe I had some pretty big success then, and I was being talked about a lot. Maybe The Art of the Deal was out, sometime after that, I'm not sure. But I was well known. And passengers are coming.
We get that you were famous. Got it. Move on from that point.
Into the plane. And she said I was making out with her. And then, after 15 minutes, and then she changed her story a couple of times. Maybe it was quicker. That I grabbed her at a certain part, and that was when she had enough. Now, so think of the impracticality of this. I'm famous. I'm in a plane. People are coming into the plane. And I'm looking at a woman, and I grab her, and I start kissing her and making out with her. What are the chances of that happening? What are the chances? And frankly, I know you're going to say it's a terrible thing to say, but it couldn't have happened. It didn't happen. And she would not have been the chosen one. She would not have been the chosen one. She has gone around for years.
Sick, twisted, and deranged. To say she would not have been the chosen one to be sexually assaulted. So let's get this straight. The two arguments that we're hearing thus far from Trump is, number one, he was famous, and famous people don't do that. We know. It's impossible for famous people to ever engage in any sexual misconduct of any kind, except for all of the ones who have done it over and over again. Okay, so that's argument one. And a part of that argument is him just recounting the allegations and going, number two is she wasn't hot enough for me to sexually assault her. You know how sometimes someone comes out and they say, I didn't do this crime. And you think, all right, an innocent person would say I didn't do this crime, but a guilty person would do it too. In this case, an innocent person would say I didn't do this crime, but Trump is showing himself to be so guilty by saying the worst thing you could possibly imagine, where if you put in a TV show, you'd think, okay, nobody would actually say that. So don't make it so obvious that the bad guy is the bad guy, right? That's just so transparent. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You wonder why Republicans are thinking, please, I'm going to go vote for Kamala Harris, but I'm not going to tell anyone. Woo.
And I feel sad that I have to come up here and explain it. I have all this legal talent, but legal talent cannot overcome rigged judges. They can't overcome a 4% Republican area. And I'm disappointed in my legal talent, I'll be honest with you. They're good. They're good people. They're talented people.
They're good people, but they suck. They suck badly. And I'm disappointed in them. And he just keeps... do we need more? He keeps bringing up more instances of allegations. Before playing this, MAGA, hear me now, if ever. It's true. It is. Some percentage, I don't have it off the top of my head, but some percentage of sexual assault allegations have been demonstrated to be false. Okay, so there's a possibility that people are lying about Trump, right? Okay. But just think to yourself, sort of the questions of, am I in a cult or am I so partisan that I'm blind to facts? Is it more likely that a guy who was on a recording saying, I sexually assault women, essentially, but in grosser terms, somehow, and then went on to be found in a civil trial in front of a jury of his peers by the preponderance of the evidence to have sexually assaulted a woman, and has dozens of other sexual assault allegations against him? Is it really more likely that all of those are lies and fabricated, and all the evidence and the people who were told by E. Jean Carroll back then that this happened, the friend she called, all that's being made up? Or the guy whose response to being accused of this is, nah, she's not hot enough? Maybe he just did the stuff, like we say with a lot of subjects. And maybe you don't have the values that you thought you did because you, for whatever reason, will stand by his side despite obviously, which is why a jury found this, obviously being guilty of these things. Here's more.
2 witnesses. One is named Jessica Leeds. So she was up again. She can't get rid of her. She was up. She said, I was in an airplane doing that. A couple of things. You have an armrest in planes back in those days. Oh, by the way, she didn't know anything about the flight, where we were going. Where I was in very few flights. I was a New York guy building New York buildings. I was in very few airplanes, I will tell you, in those days. 1979, I think. It's a long time ago. But you had the armrest, and in the old days, they didn't move. Okay? But she said she then got out and she went to the back of the plane, and that was the end of the story, I think. And this story has followed me for years. But just to finish with her, Jessica Leeds, no police reports, no witnesses, no corroboration.
And what he's referring to here is, so I'm pretty sure, the only reason he should be bringing this up, probably, is because in the case relating to E. Jean Carroll, as a demonstration of a pattern, as a part of the evidence brought forward, this testimony from someone else was brought forward. And so the evidence she's responsible for demonstrating is different, the level, right? Because E. Jean Carroll is the one who has the higher standard she has to prove because she's in that civil trial accusing you, looking for damages. The other person is just another part of the picture that the E. Jean Carroll team was trying to depict for the jury, saying, and look at this long history of him doing similar things or being accused of similar things. And I know Trump doesn't take advice at all, I guess, from most people, but think about even just the strategy, as gross as it is to think of his strategy. Why would this be it? Does he not know? Does he never watch back his own press conferences and think, that's not how I wanted to come off? And then remember on the she's not my type sort of argument, that's what he always said about E. Jean Carroll. And then he was shown, this is crazy, he was shown a picture of his ex-wife. He was shown a picture of E. Jean Carroll and thought it was his ex-wife. Presumably someone he used to be married to would be his quote-unquote type. So even by the logic he's presenting, which is a disgusting one, he's been disproven by himself in that clip. But to think that makes you come off more innocent is shocking. And then Alina Habba also says, I know Trump and I'm a woman and I could say he'd never do this to anybody.
And as a woman who has stood with President Trump, who has spent extensive time with President Trump and with his beautiful family, I will tell you, that is not President Trump, and I completely am disgusted by what I have seen happen to this person, his family, and the Trump organization that we stand in right now.
Your client just said he doesn't sexually assault. The reason he wouldn't sexually assault a woman, it's not because he's against sexual assault, but because she's not hot enough for it. And you're disgusted by the fact that people are accusing him of this stuff? The reason you don't rape someone is because you don't rape people. Not because you don't find them attractive enough. Sick argument. Ugh. But she's disgusted. What's been done to Donald is just a crime against our justice system. Let me know what you thought of that in the comments. And I know we're in a cozy little set today. We're doing a little work and trip situation. And if you want to join, become a member, you can do it by clicking the join button below.